another episode of the Startup Junkies podcast. Thank you for tuning in, however and from wherever you are tuning in to us today. My name is Caleb Talley. I'm with the Startup Junkie team, and I'm joined by my friends and colleagues, Darian Harris and Tom Douglas from the Fuel Accelerator program. In this episode, you're going to meet the cohort of this year's Fuel Accelerator, and I'll let these guys tell us a little bit about the Fuel Accelerator.
Well, great. Thanks, Caleb. It's really great to be part of the Fuel Accelerator. I've been part of it since its inception 5 years ago. We're actually growing and adding Fuel Accelerators, so that's a fantastic thing to see. Every year, we get a whole bunch of really talented individuals and companies that come here to Northwest Arkansas to learn about how to deal with enterprises and how to take their growth company to the next level. And it's really exciting.
Yeah. It's been, this is my second Fuel cohort, and I'll just tell you, it has been one of the most fun things I've done. I've started several companies myself, love entrepreneurship, and so the ability to spend time with other founders, other people who are building things in this space and have them kind of in our hometown and get to show it off for everything that it is, has been one of the most fun things I've done. Like I said, it's a really special experience, and the growth that you see throughout the program is, I think, what makes it really unique, and the mentors that play such a huge role in making it the special program that it is. Really is a unique opportunity to build your network, grow within the retail supply chain and all the different industries that we have here.
It's also really great to see a lot of those talented people and companies stay in the area after the 12 weeks are over, which is really important because the more you build up that type of base, the more the flywheel of the ecosystem here turns, and the better off we all are for that. So it's really exciting when we get people to realize what a target-rich environment we have here and what it can do for their business.
Those wins just kind of compound on themselves.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to introduce you to this year's AI/ML cohort, shot here live on location at the Ledger. I hope you enjoy.
All right, we're excited to welcome Andrew Bart to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I'm Darian Harris, Director of the Fuel Accelerator program.
And I'm Tom Douglas, the EIR for the Fuel Accelerator program.
So the way we like to kick this off is tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us a little bit about your company, and kind of how you ended up in the Fuel program.
Sure. So Andrew Bart, CEO and co-founder of AlgoFace. Just a little bit about me for those who haven't heard on the other podcasts that we've done. I was adopted privately from Arkansas and spent about 3 days here. And then ultimately, this is my first time back in the state of Arkansas, and it's been just an absolutely incredible experience. Can I tell you a little bit more? Or?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about AlgoFace, your company, and how you ended up back here.
Sure. So AlgoFace is, we make it easier for enterprise level companies to build and deploy face AI solutions, things like virtual try-on, vital sign detection, and enablement of hyper-realistic digital avatars. I ended up in the Fuel program. A close friend of mine in Arizona lives not too far away. She had been in the previous Fuel Accelerator, told me about it, and said, with where you are and what you're doing, what this program meant to Jolynn, she conveyed that impact. And immediately, for me, it was a no-brainer to apply, the connection to Arkansas from the past. And then I engaged with Darian and Tom, and it was a bit of a no-brainer from there as I started to get to meet the people.
That's great, and we really appreciate it. And we actually appreciate Jolynn, too, for suggesting that we talk to you, so that's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about your experience so far in Northwest Arkansas as it relates to business and fuel and the many places that you visited while you've been here.
So it all begins with calories. I have eaten my way through Bentonville and found a wine bar that I've sort of made the epicenter of the life that I've started to craft here. And Ramo Wine Bar is a wine bar that I tend to, as we go through mentor sessions and we engage with different people in the community, you pick a place or two, and I've done that with Ramo and with Blake Street as my sort of lunch spot and activity spot. And I've brought people into these two environments and really made what I feel like is a home here.
So one of the things I'd love to talk about is one of the things that makes you really unique is you lean so heavily into relationships. We do a lot of mentor sessions, and they're always time blocked. And every single time I've got to pull you out of a room, and you always say, "There's no way it's been 30 minutes." But I think it speaks to the relationships that you have developed over your lifetime. So talk a little bit about what relationships mean to you and some of the relationships maybe that you've built so far here.
Well, I think you touched on it. You do have to yank me out of the room. I think a big part of that is even in the mentor sessions, I know we're here to acquire enterprise level customers and learn how to be better at doing that, optimizing that process. But the reality is I came here to meet people, and the relationships are the way I've operated in life historically is that things tend to develop organically. And Tom, you've touched on this in our programming. People do deals with you ultimately because they like you and they trust you. And look, I want to engage with people in the community. I've met an incredible group of people. The exposure has just been nothing short of amazing. But when I go into those mentor sessions, I legitimately want to. I ask the people a couple questions. Tell me about you, and I spend more than half the time listening to them. Tell me about who they are, and then I always end with a very similar question that's asked at 1 million cups, which is, how can I help you? And I think in some ways it's kind of funny because I'm known for that back in Arizona, but here, several people have said to me, nobody asks me that question when they come through the program. It puts you in a little bit of a unique seat. And the fact of the matter is that I'm truly, genuinely wanting to find a pathway for alignment and collaboration and being helpful to them in any way I can be beyond, we'll figure out how to do business together. That part's, I think, going to come naturally.
You're quite accomplished in making relationships, your business quite accomplished, and you've made use of almost every second that you've been in the Northwest Arkansas area. What do you think from Fuel is something that you got out of the program that you didn't expect to get out of the program?
That's a good question. I honestly, I think it actually comes down to the place, which is defined by the people and the construct of the community. Legitimately, I mean, I live in Carefree, Arizona, and it's a small town north of Scottsdale, and it's walkable, it's accessible, people are friendly, and when I came here, I had no idea what to expect. I'd never thought about coming to this area before, and didn't know what to expect. And when I came here and saw the community, the ability to walk literally from the downtown area from side to side, which I do every single day, and engage with the people. The people are so friendly here, so welcoming. I think that took me off guard. And what I've learned is that this area is definitely somewhere where I want to find a way to be a part of the community beyond the program. And my goal would be to generate something within the community that fosters the ability for AlgoFace to put up an office here and engage on a long-term basis beyond, just simply from a personal perspective. Obviously, I'm going to maintain relationships with everybody, but to have an office here on the ground and truly be, have a reason to come back more frequently than I would if it was just on a personal basis.
That's great. That means a ton to the community too, because we love having you here.
Oh,
it does.
Thank you.
So, one of the things we really try to do when we're recruiting fuel companies is make sure that they're non-competitive so that there can be really kind of great relationships built within the cohort. People can be assets to each other. And so, speaking of relationships, do you mind talking a little bit about the relationship that you've built within the cohort? Because I think everyone kind of gravitates to you in kind of a natural way?
I mean, literally, my hair's standing up on my arm and my neck thinking about this because, you come into a scenario and you're engaging with new people, and ultimately, what happens in the room when we come in the morning, or what happens at the end of the day, which really tells the story. We genuinely want to hang out with each other. I think you guys have done an amazing job selecting who is a part of this program. And you talk about the non-competitive nature. That, I mean, not only not competitive, I think there's an aspect that you're seeing it right now. Joe Lynn, as an example, just announced a partnership with a previous cohort company, and I think that's a testament to your selection process of being able to bring in companies that can do business with one another, not just with engaging in the community here, but you're bringing people into the community with the thought process of legacy of being able to do business with one another. And I can tell you personally that I have had some conversations. I have some opportunities within our current cohort where our technology could potentially help some of my cohort brethren, and it's I'll tell you, the love is real in the room. It's not falsely manifested, and this tribe is going to be together for a hell of a long time beyond this program. So there you have it.
That's good.
Someone just recently said that once a member of the tribe, always a member of the tribe, or
MOT,
something to that effect.
MOT.
So I think it's good.
Yep.
So how do we keep in touch with you as a community over?
I don't think you're going to have
afterwards?
to worry about that. I don't even think you have to. Believe me, I'm sure as my wife says, I'm pretty annoying. So I will definitely be on you guys, and you don't evaporate after something like this. It's been such a rich experience and a real experience that I have friends here, and I have people I trust and respect and admire, and people who I look forward to coming back to visit. And certainly it'll happen at the wine bar. That's for sure.
Well, we're thrilled to have you in the community and look forward to seeing a lot more of you as time goes on.
Likewise.
Thank you, sir.
Oh my gosh, yes. Appreciate
been a pleasure.
it. Yep. Much love, gentlemen.
More to come.
Yeah.
Here we come.
All right, we are excited to welcome Dexter Caffey to the podcast, founder of Smart Eye Technology. I'm Darian Harris, with the director of the Fuel Accelerator program. We've got Caleb with us. So Dexter, tell us a little bit about kind of how you ended up on the journey to start your own company, kind of what that journey's looked like, and ultimately, how did you end up in the Fuel Accelerator program?
Well, thank you so much for having me on your program today. Again, I'm Dexter Caffey, founder of Smart Eye Technology. Years ago, I was on a trip to Israel. And I was in Israel about 4 years ago, and I was at a cybersecurity event. So I'm sitting next to this cybersecurity expert, and as we were talking, I noticed when I saw his laptop screen, I saw like documents on his laptop screen. And I said, why should I be able to see any documents like Word documents or PDF documents on his laptop screen? It says none of my business. I said, what if we could create a app that would actually track just my face when I'm looking at my computer screen? And if it sees Darian's face or Caleb's face, it would actually block and go completely blank as you guys looked at my screen. Yeah. So that's how the whole idea started.
Nice. So talk a little bit about kind of your journey so far. You started the company several years ago, kind of what that journey's been like so far, and then kind of how you became to find out about Fuel, and how you ended up here. Let's start there, I guess.
Okay, great. Well, again, when I started a company a few years ago, we started out with a mobile app. And from there, over the past year or so, we actually created an API so that companies could easily take our technology and integrate it into any application that they have. So that was the core reason why I actually created the what's called the SETI mode API. And it's funny, but I found out about Fuel by an email from Darian, which is you. And
this guy.
Yes. And so I didn't know too much about Fuel. And so I did some research, and I just reached back out to you after you sent me the second email, said, hey, listen, I sent you the first email saying, hey, you didn't respond to me. So I did respond to you the second time, and learned about the program, loved it, and was really excited about being a part of the program here in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Awesome.
You were supposed to say our SEO is just like really, really good, something like that.
It is.
So tell us a little bit about kind of, that journey as you're building the company and what iterations you may have had of Smart Eye, or what applications that may have come that, like, when you kind of initially got that idea that you didn't think would be good use cases for it, that you've learned over time through some customer discovery.
That's a great question, Caleb. Initially, when I built out the technology a few years ago, I created it for to send documents, mainly files. You could send PDF files, Word files through our platform. And so as I talked to companies, they really loved our technology. When you look at the screen and you walk away from it, the screen goes blank because it can't recognize your face anymore from continuous facial recognition. And they really liked that part of our technology. So as I talked to more and more enterprises, they said, Dexter, we love the technology, but the problem is it's inside of your mobile app and your web app, and we don't use your mobile app or your web app. Give us the technology to where we could actually put it and integrate inside of our technology, our applications, things that we use here inside banks and other companies like that. So that's how I had to pivot and decide to listen to potential customers to know exactly what they were looking for versus me deciding to build a technology that I thought was cool for other companies.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things that we try to do with Fuel, and you know this more than most, is really get out in the community, get to know people, and enjoy all the things that we have. I think Northwest Arkansas is really kind of this unique space that not everyone around the country and around the world knows about, but several Fortune 500 companies, the largest company in the world here as well. And I think a lot of really cool stuff, some of the best food in the country. And so you've spent the last 7 or 8 weeks, the entire time here. You've gotten to know the area quite well. You are an avid biker. The funny thing about Dexter is he will go ride the bike every single day, rain or shine, it does not matter. And I think, being in an area like this that is, one of the mountain biking capitals of the world, I took him mountain biking for his first time. No one knew it was also my first time. I'm the one who ended up wrecking, broke a rib. And Dexter said, I'll never do that again. I said, no, it's totally fine. I know enough people that do this, and this happens all the time. But anyway, so talk a little bit about your experience here in Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas as a whole. And you also went to an Arkansas football game, and we've done a lot of things. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, this is my first time in Arkansas, period. I didn't know anything about Arkansas. I didn't know anything about the culture here in Arkansas. I didn't know anything about the football or the food. And I was really surprised when I came here because I didn't know what to expect. People say there will be a lot of country things like cows around and different things like that. So I didn't know what to expect. So I came just open-minded. And when I got here in Bentonville, I was so surprised to see so many beautiful homes, amazing food from all over the place, from different locations. And I was really surprised. So to me, it was a big eye-opener for me. And the business climate is something that's completely different than any other places I've been here in the States as well as globally, because I do a lot of traveling globally. And it's a completely different environment here business-wise. And I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I did learn, being here in Bentonville, of course, all the beautiful mountain biking and other things like that. When you talk to people here in the local community, the people are very nice here in Bentonville. They have a very positive attitude, throughout the city. And it's very rare to see in a place. And so to me, I was really attracted to it, and I'm literally looking at moving my headquarters directly here to Bentonville. Absolutely.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, love to see it. Love to see it. We would love to have you here. Can you talk more about some of the relationships that you have developed? We spend a lot of time with mentors, but one of the things that you've done really well is even outside of what happens in the office, you spend a lot of time outside of the office going and spending time with the mentors, developing those relationships. So can you talk a little bit about those relationships that you've developed?
I think with the mentors has been really a very valuable relationship, because it's not just about talking to them here inside of the Ledger building here where we're located, but it's really about getting to know them as individuals and real people and listening to their stories. I think that's one of the most interesting things that I've done was really kind of meet with mentors and talk to them and find out about what they've done as far as a career, family, and other things like that. So to me, it's been very helpful because I've learned a lot. Even over this past weekend, riding bikes with one of the mentors and listened to them and learned about their experience working for large enterprises, and really getting a chance to understand how large enterprises work. And that's really the purpose of this program, is for us to really kind of get it and understand how it works, how things operate, so that when we do approach certain enterprises, we know exactly what to expect. And I think that was very helpful to have people who you can just kind of pull aside on a Saturday or Sunday and go bike riding with, just to have some fun and just to have a good conversation about business as well as personal family life. And so I think that's a huge part of this program that I don't think is really like expressed a lot and shown. But if you kind of just take time to meet with mentors and talk to them personally, you really do get a chance to see and understand who they are, and it helps you to feel better about the program as well.
I think that's something that's unique about Northwest Arkansas, just as someone who's obviously biased and lives and works in Northwest Arkansas, is just that receptiveness to building relationships within the ecosystem. I think the folks that do it right, that come participate in the program, or even entrepreneurs outside the program that are looking to build those relationships with the folks that they're working in and around, have more success than the ones that are kind of approaching everything transactionally. And I think the mentor base here in Northwest Arkansas is most receptive to the relationship building aspect of that, versus, they're not anticipating some transactional approach to mentorship and engagement. So you're doing a good job.
And I think that's important, Caleb, what you mentioned, because it's not transactional. It's about, you hear about their challenges from family, things that they had that went wrong, things that are going right as far as work, and things that are going wrong as far as work. So you hear the real story instead of just a transactional situation. And I think that's important because, business is about people. It's about really knowing people and not just a transaction. And that's what a lot of people, some people, they don't get that when it comes to business. They say a big company, but that big company has people who actually are running that enterprise.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the last question that we usually ask is, how can the community and we continue to help you? We've got a few weeks of the program left. But what can the community do to really help you on your journey, especially if you're thinking about moving here? What can we do?
Everybody send them an email and say, move.
Yeah, everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely. Well, I think the first thing is really, number one, to make more introductions to enterprises, especially in certain areas such as banking, areas such as defense contractors, places like that. So I'd love to do that. And plus, if there's a way we could take that food back with me to Atlanta on my way, that would be a great thing to do. But really seriously, I really think that, number one, just making those types of introductions at the end of the day was one of the biggest things that we need.
What's your favorite restaurant, favorite meal you've had?
My favorite restaurant is actually Table Mesa. Table Mesa, I go there every day. They know me. I know them. They look for me when I come in. They know what table I sit at. I love that place. I like the people there. I love the vibe there. So Table Mesa is definitely my favorite restaurant.
That's great. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and we'll be in touch for years to come.
Thank you so much for having me.
Continuing our Fuel series, we have another Fuel Cohort guest here, Kevin. Thank you for joining us, and then a co-host, Caleb. How are you guys both doing?
Great. Fantastic. Beautiful rainy day in Northwest Arkansas.
Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. And if you want to start off, Kevin, by giving us a little bit of background on who you are and who you're working for.
Yeah, sure. So I am a local, which is different, I think, from most of the other people that sit here in front of this microphone, but originally from Silicon Valley. So I'm a transplant to Arkansas about 10 years ago. Originally worked in technology and investing. So I was an investment banker, private equity, hedge fund. Came out here to do a PhD, and then ended up getting more into product and technology. I started actually working with Edify, which is the company in the cohort that I'm representing, just about a month ago. So I'm pretty new, got thrown into Fuel pretty quickly here. And we are a company based out of Salt Lake City. We work in workforce safety software. So we help companies where employees are at a high risk of accident to decrease that risk, change behaviors so that basically people are safer, go home safe every night. And also, at the end of the day, companies see huge benefits to lowered insurance rates. So they save a ton of money and people are safe.
Very cool. Very cool.
So tell us a little bit about, obviously you're a local, so we've asked others kind of like, how do you like Northwest Arkansas? But given that you are a transplant, still from Silicon Valley, which, people kind of, a lot of people across the country, they associate, entrepreneurship with Silicon Valley and vice versa. Can you kind of compare where Northwest Arkansas is in its maturity and kind of trajectory in regards to entrepreneurial ecosystems, comparing that to your experience in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, well, I think, just about anywhere pales in comparison to Silicon Valley, even the other large tech hubs in the United States or around the world. So it's hard, I think, for anywhere. It's like I worked in finance too, and it's no matter where you are, New York will always be that place. But I'm really excited about Bentonville. I, for part of my career, was in Salt Lake City as an investor there. And if you look at Salt Lake City 10 years ago versus now, the difference between technology and the entrepreneurial ecosystem there and now is just crazy. And you've seen tons of money going into there. Silicon Valley firms are regularly showing up to invest there. Huge exits, and I hope that we're kind of on that way. We're still really early, but it's also, I think, exciting to be in this spot as well.
So Silicon Slopes, right? Is that
yeah,
what they
Silicon
call it?
Slopes
Yeah,
is what they're calling it these days.
So we've got to come up with something Northwest Arkansas. Silicon Oz, if the powers that be were in control.
Yeah, probably. So, yeah.
So then, since you're obviously you live in here in Bentonville, how has the field program been for you, representing Edify? And what do you think makes kind of the Bentonville community so unique for startups?
Yeah, I think that one of the unique things here is that it's still a small market as far as just the market here in the area. You can get to know so many people so quickly. And so getting exposure to mentors, to business people around the area is a huge benefit. If you're in a big city, you might, over the course of a couple of weeks, only get through a little bit of that. But even though it's a small market, right? Walmart, Fortune 1 company here, we're not limited in where those connections go and where the results of fuel take companies. And I see that as one of the big benefits here. And it's not just Walmart, right? We've got the university, Tyson, J.B. Hunt, and then so many other things that are coming out of this. And, Walmart, as we all know, has all of their suppliers here as well. So it's a pretty unique place, I think, for the size. And I was talking to our founder, Corey, the other day, and he was telling me how surprised he was just by those factors, by how entrepreneurial the area was, the diversity that's here, just how there's so many smart people in this area. And I mean, I think, honestly, that's why I'm still here as well. I moved from the center. I lived in San Francisco and moved to Fayetteville when I moved here, and was thinking I'll be here for 4 years or something to do a PhD, and that was the end of the plan, and now it's 10 years later. So that's meaningful, I think.
You graduated into like a local now.
Yeah,
absolutely. So you have a little different perspective, than most of the other cohort members that are coming from outside the region. But I will ask, as a cohort member who lives in the region, has lived in the region, were there any aspects of Northwest Arkansas that you learned, or anything that kind of surprised you, or that kind of came out via the ecosystem and the programming since you've been a part of Fuel?
That's a good question. I think I probably wasn't fully aware of all of the support systems that were here for entrepreneurs. And, it goes beyond just Fuel and Startup Junkie to, I knew a lot of the firms that were investing, but, Endeavor, things like that. There's so much else that's being attracted here. And I think it's, everybody here realizes it's a situation where no one person can be the ultimate change for it all. And so many people are pitching in, and so there's so many layers that to keep going, and that's been something that's really been made more clear to me.
And I would say, like, from my perspective of having been at Startup Junkie for 4.5 years or so, a lot of that has continued to compound upon itself within that period of time.
Right.
Just seeing kind of those organizations pop up and those resources develop where it almost creates like a continuum of services or a continuum of resources for folks that are on that, walking that entrepreneurial path. So I think that's ultimately the goal as a region and an ecosystem, is hopefully to have something that services, someone at any step of the way. So I'm glad that we could hopefully provide some value through Fuel.
Absolutely.
As in that step. Mm-hmm.
So for you personally, what was it about Edify that made you interested in joining their team? And what is the unique value that Edify is bringing to the work safety space?
Yeah, so I initially met Corey because we both went to the same undergrad and saw he was out here and just said, hey, let's go hang out and catch up. It's cool that you're here. And he started telling me about the business. And what really interests me about Edify is that we're doing something good at the end of the day as well. So it's something that has a clear value to companies, right? You're going to save a ton of money, but the way that we're doing that is we're making sure that people go home safe every day. And so to be able to, it's not every day, not every business doesn't have to always be that way, but it's just exciting when you can put those two things together. And it's, to me, just such an easy message to tell people. There's nobody that hates that message. Right. And it's also the thing that I think people don't always understand about the business is that what we're doing is also something that's a process that's already being done within companies. A lot of times not digitally, but then also nobody's doing anything else with it. They're maybe using it for information in case there's a workers' comp claim later. But it's also nice that this is a company where we're not introducing a new process. We're just making a process better and then have all these add-on benefits from it as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
So for our listeners, what's the best way for them to learn more about what you're working on, Edify, and kind of what's the best way to kind of like onboard, folks to that?
The best way is probably at our website, edify.ai. And if you want to reach out through there or add myself or Corey or, anybody else at the company, you find us on LinkedIn as well and reach out to us on there directly.
Awesome.
Sweet. Well, we're super grateful that you're an Edify or part of the cohort. So we appreciate you being on to speak a little bit about it. And thank you.
Yeah, this has been exciting. Thanks.
All right, now we are excited to introduce Keith Fix with Retail Aware. Keith is another one of the cohort companies in the Fuel program. So Keith, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we always start off by saying, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background and how you came to start Retail Aware.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. So I started my career at, I guess they were Fortune 1000. I thought they were Fortune 500. Fortune 1000 apparel retailer, building out their CRM. Was in the right place at the right time. And I was going into college and had the opportunity to have this full-time job while going to school. And that's where I just got exposed to this idea. This was early 2000s. And we had this idea that we could treat customers almost like casinos, right? Like we knew we could finally build a full picture of every interaction, every email, every spend, whether it was online or it was in store. Like it was, we had pretty ambitious, by we I mean me, had pretty ambitious ideas for what we could do back then. Then the 2008 happened, and people stopped buying very expensive T-shirts.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that will do it. And so I broke off and decided to finish school. I had started I started a daily deal site, and so I got exposed to work with a couple hundred, with hundreds of small businesses and merchants, and just continued, continued building that. And I think at one point, I had a professor tell me, like, why don't you just drop out and go build stuff and go do, you obviously love this, early stage stuff. And I was like, well, it's one thing to drop out of an Ivy League. It's another thing to drop out of a state college. Like, no offense, but I think I'm going to finish my degree. Yeah. And I'll actually have to send this to him. But, so after school, my senior year, I was working for, I actually had an internship with a government contractor, and I wasn't planning on leaving. I wasn't planning on starting a company, but I entered a business plan competition at the university. It was for a digital signage integration business, ended up winning. And make a long story short, the CEO of the company that I was working for handed us a $100,000 check to start that business. And so I built that over 8 years, over 5 years. And
felt like 8.
Felt like 10. But we got into the business of putting screens in places like stores. We did building directories, digital menu boards, and we started building displays and putting screens into product displays. And that's where I really got introduced to trade spend and merchandising, and really looking at just the level of investment and difficulty that these really massive brands would have putting together these programs, and just how expensive they were with very little data to support the product displays themselves. And so that's where I first got my real itch to jump back. And, we started in, fast forward, I think this goes into the retail aware era, so to speak, 2018. We looked at, had a conversation with a frozen food brand. They were spending 7 figures putting fridges in stores, these little mini freezers. And really, they were trying to understand, like, we can't, as a client put it, we can't keep track of these. We can't keep them stocked. And I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. Yeah. And so they hired us to do a contract, and fast forward, that ended up becoming retail aware. Sorry, so this was more than 30 seconds. But
no, that's a great intro. Great intro.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. You've been here in town for 8 weeks now. Yeah. Seems amazing, right? 8 weeks. Talk to me a little bit about what your experience has been like in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, so this is, I don't think anyone really understands or knows what's happening here until you get here. It's just such a hidden gem. Case in point, I think we were we went out for drinks, and it was we got pretty top shelf stuff. It was $8.
There you go.
I was like, I don't remember the last time I saw $8 for
good scotch, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say for a cocktail. Sorry, not that that's like the main selling point, but it is kind of funny. I think like what's incredible is that this is just such an epicenter, and it's just so incredible how tight-knit the community is. And I think every time I'm here, I just think, gosh, I should be here longer.
That's great.
And I think that's just been generally my experience. Everyone's been friendly. I don't think I've had a bad meal yet. Incredibly, like some of the best Indian food we had, the other night too. And so I love it.
That's great. Thanks.
That's great. So, company founded in Omaha. You now live in Chicago. Little bit of a remote workforce kind of situation. So, talk a little bit about how you came to be in Omaha, how you ended up in Chicago, and kind of what that future looks like for you guys.
Yeah, I hadn't planned on staying in Omaha, but I started my business there. The city was, it reminds me quite a bit of here in the region, here in Bentonville. There was great support networks. We were kind of a big fish in a small pond, so to speak. Yep. And so it was great to get the support of the community, get visibility. And so, and our first customers came from there. And people always ask me, like, how could you build this company outside of Silicon Valley? Like, why didn't you just go to the Valley, pack up everything? I think the main reason is because we built this alongside our customer. And that is a level, like, I don't care how great of an engineer you are or as great as a technologist you are, but the unfair advantage of being able to sit in your customer's office, work out of there, and understand their day-to-day challenges and build product around what their needs are, you'll run circles around any other company that's trying to build in the space. And so we started with our customers there, and then drew a map, and it turned out we had a lot of customers coming out of Chicago. And so I said, all right, I grabbed my bag and moved up to that region. But our team stayed because we started during the pandemic. We were already pretty virtual. Yep. And pretty remote. We were probably about 50-50. And so now, I see the same waves, the tumbleweeds blowing, and I see the same things happening here, where it's having a presence. I think we're looking at how do we continue to have a presence here in this city past the program, because of the fact that there's just such a concentration of suppliers, of vendors, of just people that really understand this space intimately in a way that you can only do that when you have the Fortune 1 here, right?
Yeah. So Fuel is a 12-week in-person program, and some of the founders come, they spend their whole time here. Some of them go back and forth, and some send different pieces from their team depending on kind of the week. And so I'll just say it's been a pleasure getting to know you, Tammy, Hunter, Brent. They've all kind of spent the time. So it's been fun to get to know kind of the whole group. And I think leaning into that a little bit, I would love to give you the opportunity you brought your product here.
Yeah,
would love to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit more about specifically what Retailware does. Obviously in this region, a lot of our listeners know the retail space well. And so talk a little bit about how your product is used, some of the clients that you have today, and what we can do to help.
Yeah, so first and foremost, Retailware is really designed as to help retail brands, retailers and their partners, help them collect first-party data and improve the speed to insights off of product displays in stores. And so, very key things. We look at shopper behavior. So how are shoppers, how many shoppers are seeing your display? How long are they dwelling? What are they, are they engaging with it, right? Like, starting to build out a value profile around that specific, whether that's an end cap, a PDQ, a standalone display, really for the first time ever, having some sort of idea of what does this do, right? And so that shopper behavior. And then second, we really, this last year, leaned into product movement. So we can actually measure in pushers. So in these push rack displays, we can actually see product movement. So we can measure velocity, product pulls. We can see physically what is actually on the shelf. And I think that's so critical because you have a lot of challenges like ghost inventory, phantom inventory, those types of things, that we can finally say with with some sort of HD version of saying this is actually what's happening in that store. When you combine shopper behavior with product movement data, you can really start to fill in the middle part of that shopper journey, that moment of truth when they're in the store, and you can really start to design programs that really help drive conversion of that moment of truth. And typically, generally, some high level use cases. Number one, attribution. Help me understand where in the store do I need to invest in. Number two is really helping better fine tune and predict out of stocks. Right, it's a really $1 trillion problem. We all want to get rid of. Problem. We want to get rid of. Yeah. And for us, you have to measure it to understand what the impact is, so that you can have conversations with stakeholders and solve it. So what makes us unique is that we collect the data using our own proprietary sense devices. It's about the size. So the device itself is battery, It's self-powered, it's wireless, and it's also cameraless. So this was one of the early requirements that we had from our customers. Is they said, getting a camera in a store is really, really hard.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And tapping into a security system to get camera data is very, very hard.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of different ways to do that. So we looked back and we said, okay, our job is to deliver meaningful insight, not to complicate the lives of our clients.
Very good.
And so that's where we went to, and we developed our own proprietary sense technology. So our motion sense actually can, depending where it's positioned, it uses motion to actually, and then we characterize that on the back end to provide, here's your impression count, here's your dwell time, here was your, and you can now, paired with the product data, you can start to see abandonment. You can start to see shelf competitiveness. You can start to see things that at an HD level you never thought possible. And so this is where we, this is really what set us apart, because I can take my sensor and I can go place this out tomorrow.
Yep.
And start getting meaningful data and start turning that into insights so that I can apply to my business and my program mid-flight. By the time I get my report, by my sales report, or I back into it, it's too late.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the high level overview. So it probably went in a little bit dedeeper.
No, I think as a former Walmart merchant, when Tom brought this to the forefront for fuel, I said, this is a no-brainer. They need to be in this area. They need to get plugged in. And I was really excited, as knowing merchandising. I kind of grew up within Walmart. I feel like that was my first job out of college, and so really got excited about it. And so we're excited that you've been a part of the program. Any other questions from you, Tom?
No, I think my question is, what has the fuel experience been that you didn't expect it to be?
I really think that I tell folks that I'm down here. And I think anyone in retail
right.
instantly knows what that means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think there's just this aura, like, one, I think you like both of you have been just absolutely incredible. Everyone in the program has been incredible. The mentors have been so open to being able to step out and help me write emails, help me understand, like, how should I communicate? Because, as a founder, you have to take off this, you got to set aside ego. Like, I don't know everything. I don't know, like, this, retail, we've worked, we have retail wear in 110 different retailers, but those have been placed by suppliers. And so for us, it's been so critical to learn, what does that process look like from building a relationship by retailer, and understanding their needs. And we've just uncovered, 5 new use cases for the data that the team themselves can use. And that's really exciting. And so I think, like, that's been one of the things I had a feeling we would come, into these things here, but I think the caliber of the introductions, of the network, of just the folks here, it's been a truly, like, awesome experience. And I love that I've been able to bring the other team here and get them to buy in. I think we're really close to having one team member maybe move down here.
That's fantastic.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
No, I don't want to jinx it.
So as we close out here, how can our listeners and other people within Northwest Arkansas keep track of you, keep track of the company and what you do, and keep in touch?
Yeah, single best way, obviously through our website, retailaware.com. We do have our retail newsletter on there that folks can subscribe and stay up to date. Also through LinkedIn, we're very active. You can search Retail Aware. Also, curious if folks Google Retail Aware. I think we own most of. I think we own most of that. Most of this first page. Go SEO. And also follow us. Follow us also. We're pretty active on, I guess it's now X.com too.
Yep.
We have a lot of brand partners that are that have been very active on that channel. So, and also for us, we'd love to connect with as many folks as possible. We love conversations and connections, especially because we're learning. I learn something new every day, and I feel like that's exciting, and we want to continue that momentum, and we know we can do that here.
Well, it's great to have you here. We hope you can be here for a longer period of time than just the 12 weeks.
Yeah,
and thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Ecosystem builders, entrepreneurs, chambers of commerce, mayors. If you're interested in taking your economic future into your own hands, we've got a book that can help you. Creating Startup Junkies, Building Sustainable Venture Ecosystems in Unexpected Places is the guide. It's a little bit inspiration. It's a little bit toolkit. What it will allow you to do is take your economic future into your own hands and build a sustainable small business, innovation, and entrepreneurial ecosystem in your backyard. If you'd like to hear more, check out creatingstartupjunkies.com. The Startup Junkie podcast reaches over 100 countries and has had over 100,000 downloads. If you're interested in reaching some of the most motivated and engaged innovators and entrepreneurs on a worldwide basis, give us a shout.